This blows 401ks out of the water. In this episode, I'm going to address the question, how to invest for retirement without a 401k. Now, you're going to learn that I've never owned an IRA or 401k, never will. I've never owned a Roth IRA or 401k, never will. Here is why. Stay tuned. I'm Doug Andrew. I'm in my radio studio. I've been blessed to have a radio show now for 12 years where I produce a new show every single week on helping people optimize their financial assets and minimize taxes and prepare for a comfortable retirement so that they don't outlive their money. Many times people will ask, golly, how can I invest or prepare for retirement if I don't have a 401k? And I go, consider yourself blessed, because I am not a proponent of 401ks or IRAs. I never have been and I never will be. And people say, really? Yeah, let me tell you something. I've authored 11 books so far. Here's some of them. And in all of my books, I prove that the method of socking away money into a tax-deferred vehicle, like an IRA, 401k, or a 403b or a 457 plan, these are all qualified plans. It's based upon a false premise. What's that? See, when they first came out, the government sort of said, hey, we'll let you put in pre-tax dollars into these vehicles and it will grow to a bigger sum of money. And then when you retire, you can pay tax in your retire years, and then you can pay tax during your retirement years, and you'll be in a lower bracket then. Well, that sounded like, that makes sense, but that has not been true for more than 25 years. People are not in lower tax brackets when they retire. The only people, and I can probably count them on my hand, that I help that are in lower tax brackets, it means they didn't save very much. Is that why you want to be in a lower tax bracket? No. Why does that happen? It's because people go down the highway of life, so to speak, trying to achieve a destination of financial independence, and they have one foot on the gas pedal and the other foot on the brake pedal, and they don't even know they're doing it. They put money into these tax-deferred accounts, pre-tax dollars, thinking they're going to be in a lower bracket, but they have the other foot on the brake pedal throughout their working years. How? They pay off their mortgage, so they kill that deduction. In retirement, they no longer contribute money to IRAs or 401ks, so they have killed that deduction. The kids are gone, so you don't have those deductions. If you're a business owner, you don't have those deductions. Congress keeps raising taxes, so most Americans are in as high or higher tax brackets when they retire than they were ever in during their earning years. But let me give you some shocking facts and actual articles that poo-poo the 401k as the best retirement plan. I've written several books, as I mentioned. My third book, Last Chance Millionaire, was written to an audience of 78 million baby boomers that were probably going to outlive their money unless they could accumulate at least an extra $1 million that could generate a 10% payout, $100,000 a year of tax-free income if they retired at age 65 or 70, if they live to be 120. Very few vehicles can do that. Most IRAs and 401ks can't come close to doing that. The financial services industry usually has people put money in tax-deferred IRAs and 401ks in the market. And Dalbar, who studies investor behavior, says because people are buying and selling at the wrong times out of emotion, when the market takes a nosedive, they wait and they wait because their advisor says, hang in there, hang in there. The market always comes back, and after it drops 30, 35, 40%, people say enough already, and they sell low. And when the market does turn around, they wait until it's clear up here, and then they buy high. And that's why the average return for retirees who have their money in the market is only 3.49% on any 20-year period. You can pick out of a 20-year period since the Great Depression. And so Dalbar says it's 3.5%. The financial services industry says don't ever illustrate more than a 4% payout because we don't want to be sued for people outliving their money. See, Wall Street was built to keep your money invested, and if you ask them, when's the best time to get my money out of the market, they will always say, never. It was designed to never take your money out of the market. So when you have your money in the market, it's very hard to create predictable cash flow when you have 2 and 3 year downturns in the market like 2001 to 2003 or 2008, when people lost 40% in one single year, and it took 4 years to make back that 40% that they lost. That happened twice from 2000 to 2012. People who had $1 million in 2000 barely had their $1 million back at the end of 2012. Clients using our strategies had tripled their money in that same 12-year period. $1 million in the year 2000 was worth $3 million in 2012 using indexing, and it was totally tax-free. So before I give you a little glimpse about what that is in my favorite vehicle, the problem with IRAs and 401ks is people are not in lower tax brackets. And so in 2008, when the market dropped 40%, like I mentioned, the front cover story on Time magazine said, why it's time to retire the 401k and do something better instead. Now, Stephen Gandel was the author of that article, and he said, the 401k is a financial flop, a rotten repository for our retirement reserves. He said it's because people have their money in the market and you cannot create predictable rates of return or income. Now, I also had been telling people it's not the best tax strategy. I want to make sure I don't lose when the market goes down, but see, IRAs or 401ks are based upon the premise you're going to be in a lower bracket, and people aren't in lower brackets. What happened a few years later? Other articles came out about why the 401k is not the best place to put their money, or Americans should not put their money there. And then a couple of years ago, in January, the Wall Street Journal had an article, the original champions of the 401k, the ones who came up with it and said, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. The original champions of the 401k lament the day they ever came up with that idea. Why did they say that? It's because it is not performing well for predictable cash flow in retirement. People are not in lower tax brackets. The market volatility does not allow them to be able to rely on predictable income streams. So that's why with many of my clients, I would get them out of the market starting at least 5 years before retirement, get the taxes over and done with on their yet to be taxed IRAs and 401ks, and reposition the net after-tax money into something that was going to be tax-free from now on, and earn rates of return more of the rates of 8, 9, and 10% average. Some years, 15, 20, 25%, but averaging 10 net. That means every $1 million could generate $100,000 a year of tax-free income versus the average IRA or 401k in the market was only generating $40,000 a year based on that 4% rule. But they weren't netting $40,000. They had to pay tax on that. If they paid $13,000 in tax, they only netted $26,000. If the asset manager was charging 1% asset management fee, which many do, or more than that, on $1 million, that's another 10 grand. People are only netting 2%. That's really pathetic. Wouldn't you rather have 8 or 10% instead of 2%? That's why you want to convert to tax-free and make sure you're not subject to the market volatility. When the markets go down, you don't lose. When the markets go up, you get to benefit without your money at risk in the market, and that's the power of indexing. So let me tie these little knots together, connect these dots, so to speak, so that you can understand, and then I'm going to show you how you can get a free copy of this book that will explain what I'm talking about if you would like. So what are the key takeaways about what I've said thus far? If you have your money in a tax-deferred IRA or 401k, it's based on the wrong premise. You're not going to be in a lower bracket when you retire, I can almost assure you. So why do you want to continue to postpone and delay the inevitable and compound your account into this big amount when you're convinced taxes will likely be higher in the future? That doesn't make sense. Most Americans that I ask, do you think future tax rates will likely be higher? Overwhelmingly, yes. Well, then why do you want to keep postponing? You do a strategic rollout, as I said, and that's explained in this book that I would love to gift you. The second thing is you want to switch from tax deferred to totally tax free. In order to do that, you've got to get the money out of those accounts, IRAs and 401ks, get the taxes over and done with, and then reposition the net after-tax money into something that's going to be tax-free from now on. One of the reasons why I like what I call the laser fund, a max-funded tax-advantaged indexed universal life insurance contract, because at the end of the day when I die, it blossoms in value and transfers tax-free and actually reimburses me many-fold the taxes I paid when I rolled the money out earlier. So I'm not out anything. I actually come out ahead. Now, you want to sprint towards retirement. So many times IRAs or 401ks, you're jogging. Jogging's okay, but you can sprint. What do I mean by that? You can be earning more like 8 to 10% rates of return instead of 4% rates of return. It can be tax-free. You will accumulate $1 million that you get to use for gas, groceries, prescriptions, and golf green fees. $1 million generating $100,000 a year for as long as you live is way better than even the same million in IRAs or 401ks only giving you $40,000 a year that you still have to pay tax on and fees on. When I quote you 10% out of an insurance contract, that's net of all fees and expenses. Now, I'll admit, some advisors say, I've never seen one that does that. Well, it doesn't mean they don't exist. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I mean, how do you know your brain exists? Have you ever seen that? See, it's such stupid reasoning in my opinion. The message here is earn more like 7 to 10% tax-free rates of return, create predictability with an instrument that was designed to give you cash flow, because money in the market has never been designed to give you predictable cash flow. It's too volatile. Experience 8 to 10% payouts. So here's how you can learn more about this concept yourself. So I mentioned that I'm an author, and in many of my books, I love to educate people like you on how to optimize their assets and minimize taxes and reposition a lot of their retirement income into what I call the tax-free bucket. For example, I've helped many people reposition their retirement assets to where 40 to 60% of their income doesn't even show up on their tax return when they retire. And they go, I didn't even know this was possible. This sounds too good to be true. This is like a miracle. What does this mean? People would come to me and money out of their IRAs and 401ks, maybe, if they were lucky, could generate $160,000 a year of income because they had 2.5 or 3 million accumulated. I go, way to go, but you have another 40,000 coming in from your school teacher pension or Social Security or whatever. The problem is all 200,000 is showing up on your 1040 tax return. Well, is there a different or better way? I go, yes. In 5 years, I took many people and we transferred 120,000, 60% of that 200,000, off of their 1040 tax return. The IRS knows they're receiving it, but they know it's tax-free. It's been that way for over 100 years. Now they only pay tax on 80,000, not 200,000. I save them 40,000 of tax on the other 120,000. If the husband or the wife lives 25 years, that right there saved them $1 million of unnecessary tax. And I don't even take into consideration the higher rates of return they achieve on the laser fund. So if you want to learn about what I call the laser fund, liquid asset safely earning returns is an acronym, and why any place that you put your retirement dollars, I would suggest passes the laser test. Liquidity, safety, predictable rates of return, and tax-free, not tax-deferred. This book is $20 retail. I will buy the book. It's free to you. You can claim one free copy of this book by going to laserfund.com, L-A-S-E-R fund.com. You pay $5.95 shipping and handling. I'll pay for the book. There's options there to get the audio and some additional video instruction if you would like. And this is designed to empower you so that you can have a better retirement and not outlive your money and stop thinking about, what can I do? I don't have a 401k. Consider yourself blessed.